I find myself thinking a lot of time, like, I wish we return voting rights just to like married men who own property. Because if you had to be married and own property and like to vote, I feel like our system would be totally different.
It's a start. It's a start.
Yeah, it's complicated to reapply it today.
We get to that part, and then we strip those guys' voting rights, and then we really got something going.
Have you seen the Family Guy joke?
Dave's here.
You see the Family Guy joke about this, where it's like it was a flashback, and then it's Peter Griffin talking to someone, and he's like, you know, okay, you're free, but you can't vote. It was like Civil War or something, and then he was like, only white people can vote, except for. Then he starts naming all of the other groups that technically, like, and then it's like, you know what? No voting for anybody. Nobody can vote. Like that's where ultimately
Well,
ends
look,
up.
I mean, I will say that I think, say
I think
if
you'd be the only person in
out,
this room, or maybe I don't know about Phil, but like you would be our voting block in this room right now.
And if I was the only person in the country, I tell you, I'd be really on board with this plan. But well, look, if you look at say like zoom out, say like the last 100 years, broadly speaking, like go to like Woodrow Wilson's administration to Joe Biden's administration, and you just look at how much bigger the government has gotten, like in all of these increments, right? You have like the creation of the Federal Reserve and the income tax. You have FDR's the New Deal. You have the expansions during World War I, during World War II. You have the Great Society under Lyndon Johnson. You have, you know, whatever, everything from there, George W. Bush and Barack Obama, and all the way through to the present. And you look at how much the culture has like been degraded. And it's not a coincidence that like as the state expands, your culture gets more destroyed. And if you look at it through every inch of it, right, like through even the creation of say like Social Security, it's like, okay, well, without Social Security, what used to be the retirement plan? Well, the retirement plan used to be your kids would take care of you. So you're just like incentivizing people to take really good care of their kids so that their kids then want to take care of them. Before the rise of the welfare state, what was the welfare state? It was your local community. It was your local church. It's like there's all of these incentives to kind of like, we build communities for a reason, because there's natural incentives for us to all work together and kind of like be interdependent. And then the state comes in at every turn. It like undermines like all of those cultural norms and like incentivizes you to be dependent on the state. And it's horrible.
How? Where are the politicians campaigning on just say like ending the income tax?
Yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable to me that I was screaming at the top of my lungs for as many people who could hear this, but even during the whole, like, during all the COVID insanity, they're like, hey, we want to figure out how to get, it's so funny to watch the federal government say, we're trying to figure out how to get aid to the American people who we rob half their income from. Like, how about 3 years of we're pausing the income tax, you know, like a tax holiday for 3 years, but something like that. And why no one would be, you know, talking about this thing that is the biggest bill for so many families around the country. It's but
think about this. They did the stimulus, they did the extended unemployment plus the stimulus because of COVID. And the complaint from a lot of people was that Democrats are basically bribing voters, saying, vote for me and I'm going to give you money. Okay, so why don't Republicans just be like, we'll get rid of the income tax? Yep. Libertarians, I mean, obviously, but you know, conservatives should be campaigning on that. They get every vote. If Donald Trump came out and said, "Please, you don't like me, I know, but I'm going to abolish taxes on you, so you'll have a lot of free money," then Democrats might be like, "Oh, I hate Trump. I'm going to vote for that guy."
Well, tax cuts do tend to be popular. I think that, you know, the issue that people have with it is that if in order to do something like that, people would recognize that there'd have to be drastic cuts in spending along with it, because our government just spends so much damn money. And so nobody wants to touch that, including every Republican president of my lifetime, including Donald Trump.
Trump should do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Donald Trump. Look,
Trump needs to do a campaign video where he's like wearing the cloak and then there's like fires behind him and he's like, I am shutting down the Federal Reserve, the income tax, vengeance will be mine. I'd be like, I'm voting for that guy.
Well, it's just the most insane. I mean, I love, this is a Scott Horton's analogy, not mine. So shout out to the great Scott Horton.
The great.
So he always says this, which is just, when you really think about just how insane the income tax and the IRS are, especially in a professed capitalist country. But he would go, imagine the Soviet Union invaded and conquered the United States of America. So we're a free country, and the Soviet Union invades and conquers us. We never had anything like the IRS before. And then they come in and they say, we are creating the USS IRS. It is now a crime to produce something. It's a crime to make money. in this country, and the punishment for the crime is a fee, and the more you produce, the higher your fee goes. And we've repealed the Fifth Amendment. You no longer have a right to not incriminate yourself. You must incriminate yourself every single year to the government, who will then assess how much you've produced, and therefore what your punishment should be, how high your fee is. And if you lie when you're incriminating yourself, we will throw you in jail. And if we decide that you've miscalculated, we'll go back 20 years and just absolutely destroy you. Like, if that was the case, it would be so obvious to all of us what happened.
Bro.
You went, oh, we were conquered, and now we live under totalitarianism.
There was a period.
Yet our own government does it to us, and people are just kind of like, well, this is a government department.
You want to know why I'm absolutely sure? Soon enough, everyone's going to have the Neuralink port on their necks, and they'll be plugged into the Matrix or the metaverse, because we all have government-mandated identification numbers. Multiple of them. Mm-hmm. You get your driver's license or ID, you get an ID number on that card. Yeah. But when you're born, they give you your official government tracking number. Congratulations. Now, think about that analogy you gave about the Soviet Union, and go back 100 years, and people are going to be like, the government's going to do what?
Yeah.
Track me by number? What? Now it's like everyone has one. It's totally normal. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be normal. This expansion, it just keeps happening. The likelihood, in my opinion, is 100%.
Well, the thing about it is that parasites tend to eventually kill the host. And I was thinking of maybe a more optimistic metaphor than that. But it does seem like we're living through something very big right now. And empires do collapse, and we do seem to have all of the signs of a collapsing empire.
But I got a better analogy. Not parasite, symbiote, like Venom.
Okay.
Actually, I think it is a much better analogy. Because if you think about it, for those that are fans of Spider-Man, you'll probably understand this. Do you know anything about like the Venom character?
No, I don't.
The symbiote attaches to Eddie Brock, and then tells him it's going to give him everything he wants, make him powerful, get his revenge, makes him more aggressive and angry. That's literally what happened. The United States had this group come in, the Jekyll Island, say, we're going to do this thing. It's going to stabilize your economy. It's going to be so good for you. It's going to make everything better. And then turned the country into a weapon, made it angry and aggressive and imperialist.
Yeah, okay. I like that analogy a lot, actually. I will say, though, I think the biggest story in the world right now is what just happened over the last couple weeks with Xi going to Russia and working out this deal with Vladimir Putin. They've got Brazil on board. They've got India on board. The Chinese have now brokered somewhat of a normalization of relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran. It's like you're seeing, like, in 1991, after the Soviet Union collapsed, the late evil Charles Krauthammer dubbed it the unipolar moment. It seems like we're witnessing the end of the unipolar moment. Like, we're no longer in just an America-dominated world. And it's quite something. It's just like the hubris of all of these war hawks in D.C. that 1 year into this war in Ukraine, and you're like, ooh, that's not how the plan was supposed to go, now is it? Democracy ain't sweeping the region after we overthrew Saddam, is it?
But I think Donald Trump saw this. One of the reasons he wanted to run, securing our borders, bringing manufacturing back, was because the U.S. unipolar world was destabilizing. And the only way that people like Hillary Clinton and the deep state were able to maintain it was by further spreading thin, expending resources, and it was crumbling. And so Trump is like, we're going to make this country great. We're going to bring back jobs. We're going to secure our borders. We've got to get a control on this, because otherwise, if we allow the deep state, Biden, Democrat, whoever is running the show, to keep doing this, we're going to spread so thin, it's just going to snap. And then the United States will be left holding an empty bag. If Donald Trump was the president, we'd have more manufacturing, we'd have a secure border, and then when the unipolar shift happens to a multipolar shift, we're still much more self-sufficient and better off.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I got to say, I think the world and America would be better off without America being the dominant, like, hegemon. Like, I don't think that's done any favors for the American people. I think that, like, it's just allowed us to expand our resources and spread them thinner and thinner. Don't get me wrong, it's been really great for Raytheon, and it's been really great for JP Morgan Chase, and like,
some people benefited from it.
Some people have benefited. The average American, I don't believe, has. I think that Donald Trump did see America in decline and felt like it was for a lot of very stupid reasons. Like, this is what he would say. He's like, well, we're fighting stupid wars and we're making stupid trade deals and we're, and we're like, we are flooding with immigration. This doesn't make sense. I don't think he appreciated how much this was directly related to the increase in government spending and the zero interest rates for over a decade that he inherited.
The reason why the deep state was engaging in war and stupid trade deals is to prop up the petrodollar. By forcing countries who would try to oppose us to Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, they wanted to get off the dollar, they get wiped out. The reason why we were doing these awful trade deals, the simplest example, way to understand this, is the Pakistani gender studies grant. It was like $12 million for gender studies programs in Pakistan. Now, everyone laughs and says it's the stupidest thing I ever heard, but the idea is, if the U.S. can print the money and give it out, it maintains confidence in that currency. It may weaken it through inflation, but it makes sure those people use it. So you'll get this country, you'll get Pakistan getting this money. Of course, that money's not going to gender studies. They're going to steal and they're going to use it for whatever they want. But if you got a guy who was just given $1 million, he wants that $1 million to be worth something. So he goes to another guy and the guy says, I don't want US dollars. And he goes, I only trade in US dollars because I'm rich and I got US dollars. Okay, fine, we'll use US dollars. The US does this stuff with bad trade deals, giving money away on purpose and then blowing up anybody who won't use the dollar. Yeah, but that's over. That's over.
Well, it seems like it's the beginning of the end for the petrodollar. Now, what exactly that's going to mean, I don't know. But it's big.
They're talking about the CBDC starting the central bank digital currency in July now.
There's been a lot of talk of this, and they're trying to gauge it. And this is why I say, like, it's the most important issue to, like, spread awareness about right now, is that people go, like, listen, under no circumstances do you go for this. Because what's going on right now, and this is something that happens a lot, is they put these feelers out and they gauge how much resistance there is to this. But, like, the white pill in all of this is that if there's too much resistance, they will pull back this idea. If you remember, Joe Biden floated out national vaccine passports.
Yep.
And they float this out through, like, their corporate press outlets, and they go, oh, we're talking about this. And then there was a big uproar about it, and then they pulled it back. They go, no, we were never talking about doing that.
Never talking about that.
Obama announced that we were going to invade Syria. There was a huge pushback to it, and he pulled it back. We didn't invade Syria. We only covertly funded ISIS, but that's a story for another day. But even with like SOPA, if you guys remember the original plan of regulating
SOPA
the internet.
and HIPAA.
Yes, that's right. They floated this out. There was too much resistance, and they pulled it back. So, like, there is actually a lot of power. There's a reason why they try to propagandize people. There's a reason why they use propaganda, because they recognize that they actually do have to, like, have at least a level of tacit support to get these policies through. So, like, the central bank digital currency is the big one right now to me. Like, oppose that as vocally and as loudly as you can, so they feel like they have to pull this back, because that's game over for us.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.